to do battle once more.
Love 15.
Both players have plenty of support here this evening, but given the receptions that these two got when they walked onto court, the applause there, I think Federer just edges it in that regard.
Yeah, just 49-51, maybe. I think that's going to be a telling shot this evening. The return of serve of Nadal.
30-15.
Well, that's where I think Federer has the edge. We were talking about it the other day, the fact that when Nadal doesn't play many matches, he does struggle with that particular shot. And of course, we know how Federer dominated with his first serve in last year's final. That's the type of tennis that Federer will be looking to play. He's playing to keep the rallies nice and short, and of course, they want to dictate as much as he possibly can with that forehand.
Not be scared to take the inside out forehand on, because so often Nadal leaves a bit of space there.
It's a good start. Of course, there are so many areas in which these two are so very different. Federer plays very quickly, Nadal likes to take his time. Federer will look to keep the rallies as short as possible. Nadal wants to prolong them as much as he possibly can. The right-hander against the left-hander. Federer, of course, is always so cool, calm and collected. Nadal, the exact opposite in terms of his image. The amount of effort, work rate that goes into hitting each and every shot, so different to Federer, who hardly seems to break a sweat most of the time. That's what makes this rivalry so interesting. Important game this for Nadal.
Net for service.
What did you make of Federer's opening performance this week against Fish? Nadal, rather, sorry.
Yeah, it was a very ropey performance, a lot of ups and downs. I thought Marty came back well, had plenty of chances to get the better of him actually in the end there. Third set tiebreaker needed by Nadal. Thought he was dropping the ball a little short as well against Fish, so that's going to need to improve tonight, because Federer's obviously got a little bit more firepower beforehand.
First match back after a little bit of a layoff. You're always going to be a bit rusty. You're expecting a better performance from him this evening?
Yeah, cleaner ball striking, better serving. Just a couple of routine forehands. Of course, I'm judging him by the loftiest of standards, because he would only want to be judged on the highest of scales.
terms of tactics, Robbie, you know he likes to hit his forehand to Federer's backhand, and on clay he can do that all day long, and it's up to Federer to try and dictate play from a very difficult position. But indoors, will Nadal's forehand down the line become a very important shot this evening, because he'll have to try and be a little more aggressive?
Yes, I think it's important that he mixes it up a little bit more indoors. He's always kind of gone with the same tactics that he uses on clay, and he's come unstuck the last 3 times. Of course, he's lost
40-15.
He's lost 3 encounters indoors, and he's in trouble early on. Excuse me. And
Thank you for the ball.
I think it's important that he mixes it up, uses his forehand up the line, and doesn't get too predictable, because on this particular surface, Federer can take the backhand early. It doesn't get as high up on him as what it does on, say, a hard court or a clay court. Just a little bit more variation from Nadal from the back of the court. That's what's needed. There it is right there. Federer looking for the cross-court forehand. Nadal beating him for pace there, almost 100 miles per hour that forehand was. That's a good sign, good start. Nice comfortable service hold.
I think this is a match as well whereby both understand that only the best will be good enough this evening, so it makes decision-making relatively simple. You've just got to go out there and try and play your best tennis, whereas against other players they could win without necessarily playing their best. Of course, that was the case in their opening matches here this week, but they both have so much respect for one another and understand that they'll almost be forced to play their best stuff, which is a win-win situation, because of course we get a great match as a result. But I really believe that Federer has the confidence to beat Nadal this evening, because he's coming off the back of those 2 wins, but more importantly, he knows the conditions favour his style of tennis as opposed to Nadal's.
So of course, just the mindset will be just a little stronger, you would suspect.
Lovely little lob, but it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you think, well, hang on, it's not that quick, this court, so surely that favours Nadal, but it favours Federer too, because he can run around the backhand and use that forehand to good effect.
And Nadal says he doesn't mind playing on a quicker court as well, because he gets a few more free points off of his serve, which is always a bonus for him. That puts him in a good mood and puts him in a good mindset as well when he's playing.
Relatively well. Early stages of the match, 60% of first serves. That bodes well. Federer leads 2-1.
It's interesting how you can spin things if you want to look at numbers and stats. Of course, before the start of these group matches, Nadal came in with a 30-11 win-loss record against the other 3 opponents. Of course, you've always got to look at things in context, haven't you? He's got a better head-to-head record against his cover, as you say. When you go and have a look specifically when they play on an indoor surface, what the result is, of course, that puts a different spin on things altogether. And I've enjoyed reading some of the newspaper articles. You get a hint of the journalists who they prefer out of Nadal and Federer, the way they kind of skew the stats as far as the head-to-head record is concerned.
Packed house tonight, 17,500 plus one or two standing in the aisles, anxious to get a glimpse of these two doing battle. It's been a decent start
Ready
so
for play.
far. No breaks as yet. 1-2.
Love 15.
Just looks so much more comfortable in these baseline rallies with Nadal when he plays on an indoor court compared to, of course, clay and some of the hard court matches that these two have contested.
I think Nadal also likes it if it's a little windy, a bit of sun out there, doesn't mind if you have to deal with those extras.
Well, it's a good point you make, because Federer's always taking the risks, isn't he? He's always trying to hit the ball a little harder, a little cleaner,
take it on the rise,
closer to the lines, whereas Nadal, of course, it's a lot of spin, high over the net, well inside the lines, so he's going to enjoy playing in tough conditions. Whereas, of course, indoors, don't have to worry about that, and Federer can just concentrate on execution of his game plan. It's a little easier for him. Poor choice of shots from Nadal there on the volley. I thought he was going to go and hit a little short angle shot and wouldn't have come back. Unfortunate there, perhaps. It's a shot that Federer sometimes has difficulty dealing with. To return a serve, and he goes through phases. Sometimes it just chips it back in play. He was doing that a lot a couple of years ago. Of late, he's tried to be a little more aggressive, coming over the ball, but it's not often he looks uncomfortable, but he does sometimes when he's returning a lefty serve. I think he was criticised heavily, wasn't he, for a long time when he played Nadal on clay and
2 games
losing all the big matches to him because he was just bunting it back in play and wasn't really attacking that second serve, at least here today.